ice has dropped on a new round of Wall Pass Wednesday here on SDH. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by. Once again, apologies for the hair. I'm still trying to get adjusted to the haircut. Boss likes the hair short, and I'm still trying to figure out, okay, if it's short, how does this work? And so it is apparently working in ways that it only decides it wants to. So we'll see what happens in and around anything and everything that's attached to it. So John, are you there? Thanks for dropping by. And here is the show for the morning. It is a couple different things. As always, since it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, it is Tyler Pilgrim joining us in about 10 minutes, and we'll go through what's on Tyler's mind when it comes to Atlanta United, everything that's attached to the international window with like 98 Atlanta United players all over the planet. And we'll look at who's gone, when they might be coming back, what it looks like, where things stand. We'll go back over the last match and what happened at Red Bull, and we'll go from there. Then in hour number 2, hopefully our buddy Dylan Butler can join us if he is not hip deep in high school lacrosse. We also have a visit from Steve Livingstone, President and CEO at Sporting Jax. We get the update from Steve about what's going on in Jacksonville with USL League 2 and USLW going on right now. They're signing players for USL Super League, and they're trying to get a franchise going from the ground up. So we got our update from Steve yesterday. And full disclosure, there's an edit in the interview, and I'll tell you why after the interview is done. We've got news out of Mercer yesterday. We're going to hear from Mercer AD Jim Cole. If you missed that conversation, you can listen to it in full from AST, Atlanta Soccer Tonight. It was on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. You can go back to the Off the Woodwork section and listen to it there. Jason went down to Mercer Macon yesterday for the big announcement in Middle Georgia about who's going to come and hang out for a couple of days during Club World Cup. And so Jason caught up with Jim Cole. We're going to hear a little bit of that interview coming up here as opening kickoff in just a little bit. So opening kickoff is going to be Jason and Jim Cole, the AD at Mercer. Then it's Tyler. Hour number 2, hopefully it's our buddy Dylan Butler, Steve Livingstone from Sporting Jax. We'll go through the news of the morning. And if you've missed it, we've also got, if we have time to play it this morning, we also have the newest production at SDH. And it has been a labor of love, and it has been a labor of labor for Maddie as she has been piecing together the look at the Oglethorpe University soccer program. So we got a bit of a tease for you in that. In addition to everything else, we'll go through all the AM headlines and get you ready for everything else that's going on. US won last night in the friendly in St. Louis. I wonder what the ticket prices were. But anyway, we have all of those conversations coming up in just a little bit. All right, opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Here is your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, however you are accessing us this morning, regardless of X, Twitch, YouTube, however, all of the choices that are there. And so you hit that QR code, you start your day with opening kickoff and the opening kickoff and kickoff coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So you start there, and then what you end up doing is with the day being what it is, you start your day there. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you check out, because then you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So yesterday, Jason caught up with the folks down at Mercer. It was a big day for them, as LAFC is going to come and hang out, and they're going to get ready for their activity against Chelsea in the Club World Cup by getting warm down at Mercer. And so here is a part of Jason's conversation that he had with AD Jim Cole about what it means, how it came to pass, and the excitement that is attached to what's going on down there in Macon. So here is a little bit of the conversation that Jason had yesterday with Mercer AD Jim Cole.
Start with how everything came together for Mercer to get involved in the Club World Cup this summer.
Yeah, about a year ago, Daniel Tate, who's my deputy athletic director, came to me and where he had heard about it, he's like, I think we got an opportunity to possibly compete for a World Cup club team and possibly a World Cup team. Yeah. And, at the time, I get a lot of ideas thrown my way, and I'm kind of, my leadership style is like, well, run with it and let's see where it goes. And I very seldom say no. And every month that went by, it just kept getting a little further down the track. He and Gary Wheat started working hand in hand. And then about 6 months ago, we had a meeting with the mayor and Gary and Daniel at lunch. And I was like, this is gaining steam.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the big gift by the Hutchinsons, who are big Mercer supporters, that kind of really sealed the deal for us as far as the World Cup people were concerned, because now we had a world-class pitch for LA to come and participate on.
Yeah, knowing the facilities here, I've been down here for Georgia High School State Championships so many times. I've been here for men's and women's soccer. What does this kind of opportunity present for the soccer programs here at Mercer?
Yeah, in my remarks, I talked about being a professional. Yeah. And listen, we're in the business of trying to make every young athlete, male and female, be the best they can be and attain their goals. I played baseball here. My goal was to play in the big leagues. Yeah. I got drafted and got hurt in the minors, but being around professional athletes, watching how they conduct themselves, because really and truly it's a job to them. This is their profession. This is not a casual hobby. So I think everything from watching our student athletes and saying, hey, I want to be there one day, and saying, wow, that's the level of dedication and desire and work that it takes. And then I think for the city, we're going to see what it's like to host a bona fide professional team, how they conduct themselves. We've got to realize that they're probably used to a level of hospitality and a certain way of doing things. So we've got to elevate our game. And the way I view it is it's just like stress. Everything you go through prepares you for the next one. So we're going to prepare for this one. We're going to knock it out of the park. And then when the next one comes along, we're just a
Jim Cole, the AD at Mercer, and it was announced in the press conference that they had there on the Mercer campus that the revenue that is generated from sports and convention and business interests traditionally in years past has been around $2 million. They're already at $11 million, and they're only halfway through the year. And so what this does at Mercer is it presents Middle Georgia with another opportunity to become a desirable place for teams for whatever they may be doing, whatever the sport is, for them to go into Middle Georgia as a hub and get ready for whatever the activity is that they're going to do. And so this gives LAFC the opportunity to go and be a part of the facilities at Mercer, and it gives Mercer the chance to learn about being involved in a world-class event. And it also gets them ready for possibly sitting there and saying, hey, this time next year, come on by. We've learned from what happened with Club World Cup. Hey, if somebody wants to come and hang out with us and have Mercer Macon as their training hub for the massive worldwide soccer extravaganza that's going to be happening in this hemisphere this time next year, it gives Mercer the opportunity to learn from lessons here with the Club World Cup. And it gives them the opportunity to sit there and make themselves more desirable from the lessons that they learn from what happens this year to get ready for next year and other events down the line, because I know that we've talked about 2031 with Women's World Cup and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of different things that Mercer Macon gets to learn from here. And LAFC gets to be the first individuals that walk in the door and sit there and say, yeah, okay, we dig what's going on here at Mercer. And so, and they tell two friends and so on and so on and so on. So big day for Mercer yesterday. There were the other locations and the other clubs. They announced where they're going to be staying. We'll go over that in hour number 2. So let me write that down so I don't forget it. In addition to everything else that is going on here on the planet. So other sites for CWC. All right. So that's your tease for hour number 2 with everything else that's going on in hour number 2. So big day for Mercer yesterday, and that full conversation that Jason had with AD Jim Cole. Once again, you can go back to 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app and the Off the Woodwork podcast section with Jason's Atlanta Soccer Tonight from last night. But that was just a bit of a tease from what we got to hear from the interview that Jason had with Jim Cole down at Mercer. So very, very busy day, very, very big day for them. and a very, very cool day for them on a bunch of different fronts. Morning, David. Morning, Lokeville. Always good to see all of you. And you get to kind of see what's going on with anything and everything going on in the sport of soccer. And so it's not the only place. Yes, and Ricky, this is another thing that was put out there. The pre-match ceremony training for the Club World Cup is next week. So is it Ricky is ready? Ricky's ready to go. I imagine Ricky's ready to go. I imagine Abby is ready to go. I imagine you guys are pretty stoked about anything and everything that is attached to everything Club World Cup. And so, like I said, all the clubs, they have their training venues. That was announced. Ulsan is going to be in Charlotte, I believe, at the University of Charlotte. And Auckland City is going to be at the Baylor School up in Chattanooga, in addition to what we've seen from LAFC. But we'll go over where everybody is wandering and all that kind of stuff. We'll go over all of that in hour number 2. So it'll be really cool to see all of these clubs and all of these places and what it's going to look like as basically the entire soccer world descends upon the United States for the first time in a 2-year cycle. And we all get to see what's going on. So no, I'm looking forward to it. It was a busy day at Mercer yesterday, big day for Mercer yesterday, big day for a lot of different institutions in and around. And, so it'll be an opportunity for the smaller locations to learn. It'll be an opportunity for, once again, for training facilities that are attached to Major League Soccer franchises to be available. And so it's an interesting mix, is to sit there and say, yes, this facility has grass that's acceptable, sizes that are acceptable. You can treat all the parties and all the folks that are going to be a part of everything. But no, it's a big day, a busy day yesterday, and it gets everything up and running that much faster when it comes to Club World Cup. Because if I look at my calendar correctly, the first match, at least the first, our coverage is going to start on Monday. And the first match at Mercedes-Benz is in 12 days. And so literally it's going to be descending, and it's going to be descending very, very quickly on anything and everything. Also in hour number 2, big matchup yesterday. You'll remember on the show we caught up with Gabe Schrei, and it was a preview for Chattanooga FC and Decatur FC in the WPSL. Big win for Decatur FC last night. We'll go over that as well in hour number 2. And Decatur can't rest because they've got a matchup Friday. Drew Dickinson and I will have that one for you at Decatur High School. Once again, 7 o'clock start on Friday. And Decatur FC right now has the inside track on winning the Peachtree Division of the Southeast Conference, if I've got that right. But anyway, they got the inside track to be the top spot with the big win last night. Got out to a 2-0 lead. We'll play some of those goals for you. And it was a 2-1 final, as Chattanooga FC scored late in the second half, could not get the equalizer. Decatur FC traveled up there, got the win. Big win for them in the WPSL, and a matchup coming up on Friday. So very, very cool stuff there. I know, Ricky, that this is Ricky surprised KSU or somewhere else in the metro wasn't used. I don't know what the specific guidelines are when it comes to college campi or schools or anything, but my guess is it has to do with infrastructure, has to do with availability, has to do with regulation size. It can't be, it can't be like going to Yankee Stadium. It's got to be like a legit size. It's got to be grass, and you've got to sit there and figure out, okay, grass, regulation, infrastructure, locker rooms, accessibility, school year, what's available, all those things. So, and who makes themselves available and that kind of a thing. So I imagine there's this list of things that the Club World Cup sat there, and the clubs were like, okay, this, and this, and you got to check off all the boxes, and you've got to be available for the checking off of all the boxes as you go. So that's, I think, kind of where we are. It is after 9:15, and so catching up with one of the business. Oh, he's outside. Oh, he's outside, and he's got the headset working. I got to see how this goes here. All right, so you got the headset going.
I do.
And you are out on the lanai this morning.
I am indeed.
So you decided to just become one with nature. Is that how this works?
Yeah, before the weather comes in or whatever is supposed to happen today. I've been told weather's coming in. I haven't checked myself to verify.
I've got the Big 55 up and running, and so I'll have an update probably in this commercial break, and I can probably give us good answers as to what it may. So yeah, we'll find out if we have to batten down any hatches or anything like that. Now that you've had a couple of days to kind of sift through Atlanta United and Red Bulls, I know that in catching up with Abe earlier this week, catching up with you today, there is. I don't want to say that it's negative, but it's not like droopy dog negative, if that makes any sense. Going up to a difficult place to play, and it's not like the world is falling down kind of a thing. What's been the take from everybody there at SNS and with what you've been able to work around?
I mean, honestly, very similar. I think it was one of those games where Atlanta, to me, they didn't come out of it feeling like, in my opinion, feeling like it was just a absolute crap show, right? Like you go back 2 months ago, and it seemed like some of those games were unwatchable.
Yeah.
It was tough, and you had some things that you can build on in this game. I kind of go back to that last Philly game and I know I got on here that next time and was saying I'm getting cooked on the internet for saying, oh, there's some positives about this one.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was some stuff in this one that you can take, and move forward with. Also, you can't forget that it was the third match in 6 days.
Yeah.
Which is always a factor, no matter how much we want to hope and pray that it won't be. Look, it's still a loss. I think you could argue that it should have been 2-1, but it doesn't matter. That's still a loss. Well, I'm sure that offside call has been discussed heavily. But
yeah, we did calls on Monday with Bart, and we broke down VAR, and we're like, we don't know where that came from. But hey, yeah, Timothy Ford, good luck.
Yeah, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think there were some things there, like I said, that you can build on. There were aspects of it that were positive, but it still just wasn't enough. And I think my biggest gripe about the entire game, and I've kind of gone off on this a couple times, is I don't feel like Atlanta went up there to, and I'm going to use the word, be pragmatic in the good way. I think, we talked about it last week. Red Bulls, you know what you're going to get out of them. You know exactly the type of soccer that they're going to play. And I feel like Atlanta went up there and essentially just played their game as opposed to the opposite.
Yeah.
You're on tired legs already. You know that they're going to press the absolute heck out of you. It's going to be wild. And instead of just kind of trying to absorb the pressure, bend a little bit, and then hit on the counter with the guys that you do have speed with, and in the beginning of a game when at least their legs are a little fresher, you kind of instead just tried to play through them and settled into exactly what they wanted to do. And it took 3 minutes for exactly what they wanted to do to turn into putting you behind the 8 ball. So that part bothered me. But I like that they didn't roll over and die. They didn't fall apart. Again, mentality seems a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So
now we have the international window here and hanging out with us. Oh yes, there you go. Get the promo in.
Yeah.
Well, but you got to pause it a little better. All right. So next time you take a sip, that's like you take the sip and then you just kind of hold it there for a little bit so folks can actually see it, and you go, and then you take the beat, and so folks can see the mug. And
all right, I got it. Next time I'm going to do it.
Yes, so that way you can sit there and we can heavily promote, where folks can get their SNS ceramics. Now we are in the international window, and 98 Atlanta United players have gone to represent country, and it's going to present interesting. If 17s don't have FlightAware, they're probably going to invest in FlightAware because of everybody going and coming back and how long they're gone and all this kind of stuff. I mean, looking at the list, it's a hell of a list. And I think that, and it's been a point that folks have been going back and forth on. It's like, well, do you want to have players that are gone in international windows representing their country, or do you want not to have players leaving and being with your club and not representing your country in this situation? But 12 players on various and sundry contracts, levels, and first and second teams representing their country. And so it's going to be a race to get back in time for the matchup. I believe it is at the U12 pitch on the 12th. So it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of the frustrating part about it is it's not like this is a normal match week prep. It's not, you're not going to play on a soccer field.
Right.
I remember, a couple of years ago when Pineda was coach, and he, for the entire week leading up to the New York City match, he roped off the training ground to be the size of Yankee Stadium. And you kind of need that. You have to, like, especially, these guys that even if they've been here a year or two, they've only played at Yankee Stadium and or Citi Field once, maybe twice. And you're not used to it, right? I don't think there's really a moment, unless you play for New York City or you've been here for a significant amount of time, that you go to New York to play a soccer game and, expect to I don't know, be on a pitch that isn't a piece of. I'm trying to say this nicely. There's no settling into that. There's no settling into the fact that you're going to play on a baseball field.
I was going to say, why are you being nice about
I know. I just need to stop. It's because I don't know. Maybe it's my first cup of coffee. It's frustrating. So you need the time. You need the extra prep. You need the extra work just to mentally get into that space of, hey, these long balls, they don't have to be as long. Latte Loth, Miggy, you guys, like, you're not going to have the space in behind, which, to be fair, nobody's playing them in like they should anyway. But there's just so many aspects of playing there that you really need to prep for. And so now you've got all these folks out, some of them, U18s, academy, twos, whatever. But it's a lot. It's a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in one sense, yeah, it's a source of pride. And I think that's great. I really do. Like, especially like, let's say a casual fan hears about Atlanta United, starts getting into it, and they're like, hey, man, once they get past the confusion of, oh, well, these players get called up multiple times a year to go play for another team, if you don't know anything about soccer, then you're like, oh, that's really cool. But then I think at this point, for someone like me, all I care about is Atlanta United winning. I don't care. Unless it's the United States national teams, any of them, I don't really care. I would much rather them stay here, work here, be here, figure out how to play on a baseball field, and just be ready for this game. But it does throw a wrench in things because you finally get a good break after this really long, work week, and most of them don't even get a break.
So here's the rundown, and we'll break down how long they're gone and how it could impact what could be going on when we catch up with ourselves and we have a better update again this time next week. Abram, Amiron, Brennan, DCQ, Noah Cobb, Jay Fortune, Latte Lot, Saba, Ephra, Sleesh, Caden Moore, Braden Dunham. So Luis Abram has Peru for just CONMEBOL qualifiers for Peru, nothing major. June 6, June 10. And so even if, like, first thing Wednesday morning, Luis Abram catches a flight out of Lima and ends up back in Atlanta on the 11th, it's going to be him chasing everybody trying to get back up to New York to be available on that Thursday. Miggy, same, because it's once again June 5, June 10. And so they're traveling to go to Brazil. So Miggy has to, I guess, go back with his team after the match is over and then try and find a way out of Asuncion and out of the clutches of our buddy Joe Freihofer for this week anyway. Apparently the Hoff is down in Paraguay following somebody in particular. So we'll see what happens there.
It's him and Diego, right? Are they both down there, I think?
Yeah, he and Diego. Is true. Yes. So I can't wait to see what that looks like. Jay Fortune, TNT, It is St. Kitts and Nevis, Costa Rica, and so it's at Costa Rica. Getting out of Costa Rica, not all that difficult. You just have to time it right. So if Jay can leave on Wednesday out of San Jose, then he's back here after I think it's like a 4-hour flight, if I remember correctly, from Atlanta United played Arellano, and we did that. Jay comes back on Wednesday, flies up. Latte Lot. This one's going to be an interesting one because he's joining Ivory Coast, but it's both played in Toronto. And so New Zealand and Canada, June 7, June 10. So Latte Lot can hop over, and that shouldn't be that much of an issue. Saba.
Very convenient.
Yes. Faroe Islands, June 5, Cape Verde, June 8. And so at least Saba has the opportunity, I think, to come back in decent shape. EFRA, Bolivia, CONMEBOL, June 6, June 10. June 10 obviously would be the challenge. Bart Sleesh would be a challenge because he goes home literally for Moldova and for Finland in a UEFA qualifier June 10. So he's flying back. You've got a question mark there. DCQ, Caden Moore, Braden Dunham, May 30 through June 11. So if you wanted them on your bench or if Steve Cook needed them for a matchup at some point, I think they hit another window. So DCQ, more Braden Dunham, I think you're okay because of June 11. And so that's where you are with all of that. So for the most part, you're going to be hoping that connecting flights cooperate, except for Latte Lot, where all he has to do is put up with TTC going out of Pearson.
That was very convenient.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does present, and the point was made, let's see, by David about Mateus Click, where David's like, yeah, Click won't have to run as much. Absolutely true. And the fact that you'll have him here, you don't know where the situation is with Tristan Muyumba and his recovery. So it presents some interesting thought patterns that you got to prepare for, if you're Ronnie Dyla getting ready for this matchup at the Sandbox up there in the Bronx.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of intrigued. And I made the joke about, players, I just wish they would stay here and all. I mean, it's not to take away from the again, that source of pride for playing for your country. I totally get it. Being a little facetious, but I will say in some cases, especially like Jay Fortune, I mean, he's representing Trinidad and Tobago, and these are two like legit games.
Yeah.
These are World Cup qualifiers, and they're second in their group between Costa Rica and St. Kitts and Nevis. Top two go to the third round, and then from there, you've got 3 remaining qualification spots.
Yeah.
For the World Cup, or the play-in game against one of the other federations. So, like,
it's the Oceania. Do they get Oceania or something like that?
I would imagine. Usually, Oceania is the one that gets kind of thrown to the wolves at some point.
Yeah. Caledonia, you get Trinidad.
Yeah. But I think like for a situation like that could invigorate a guy like Jay. He's already having a really good season. And then you throw him into maybe a high pressure situation, but also an opportunity to push his national team through, or at least take that next step. It won't be a done deal no matter what happens during this window, but they could come out of it looking really, really good. And we've seen players at Atlanta before go off to major tournaments, or maybe tournaments that people don't consider major.
Yeah.
But for a player, it's a big deal, and come back totally different. It's a little bit of an apples and oranges. I remember when Ezekiel Barco went to the Olympics and came back a totally different player, hired a private chef, like the whole 9 yards. And he elevated his game a lot from that point on. And we've seen it here and there throughout Atlanta's, relatively short existence, but that's one I would keep an eye on just because of how Jay is playing already. The rest of them, yeah, it kind of becomes just a load management thing, just because you're not playing in some of these matches. If they do, you're still at a training camp. So you're not necessarily getting the rest that everybody else is. I mean, you have a lot of guys right now that are on vacation. Brooks Lennon's in Arizona playing golf.
Good for Brooks.
So yeah, I mean, do what you got to do. So
yeah, maybe I wonder if he lines it up on the right-hand side of the fairway and just plays a nice little fade,
Yeah. Little cross back in. No, but I think those are maybe the two quote unquote storylines that I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on. Just how many minutes / what the training camp is like, and then for Jay, that one I'm really excited about. Those are matches that I'm hoping go well.
Well, and at the same time, we mention opportunity because if my math is correct and my scheduling is right, you've got the matchup against NYC on the 12th, but then you have another,
Which is a Thursday, by the way.
yes, yeah. And now I'm wondering. I'll see now that you got me intrigued. Hang on just a second. I know this is the New York Yankees schedule. I'm wondering.
I'm doing my pause.
Yes, there you
I
should.
got it.
It's really it is the promotional pause. I'm double checking the Yankees schedule, by the way. No, they are in Boston. Okay, so I don't know why. I mean, it needs to be prepared back from Monday when the Angels come to town. I don't know. Their Yankees are on the road. I would have thought that if you're holding it on a Thursday, then there's something that's attached to it. But after that match, you've got almost 2 weeks before you go back to playing all over again, and it's 2 in 4 days, and it's Columbus and Messi and friends. And so there's that whole mix of, okay, do we rush everybody back and sit there and go, okay, we've got NYC and it's a pinball machine and it is what it is, knowing that in 2 weeks after the fact, you really just want to have everybody healthy and getting ready for that stretch of matches on the road where it's Columbus, at the Erector set. You want everybody there. Do you, like David is suggesting, for the overworked or tight schedule guys, just tell them to spend 2 extra days visiting family, come back after NYC and give opportunities to folks like Togashi and Will Riley, those kinds of things. Is that what the lineup looks like going into that match at NYC? Do you just go ahead and do it that way and not rush everybody back, short of Latte La, who just has to hop from Pearson to JFK or something like that? That to me is another part of this whole plot line that I'm intrigued with. Who gets those chances, kind of like what happened with Cincinnati, and that's why Riley and Togashi stuck in my head for that kind of an opportunity against NYC coming up in a bit.
Yeah, I think it would be one thing if Atlanta was having that kind of season where you just don't want to break up like the chemistry of a starting 11 or something.
Yeah.
But they're not. I mean, you can mix and match whoever you want and just kind of see what happens. I mean, we've advocated for seeing more of Kamen and Riley and Luke Brennan, which I guess Luke will be out.
Yeah.
But,
that vein of the rosters.
Yeah, that kind of secondary quote unquote group.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it at all. And if it's one of those things that helps morale, I mean, we talk about Brooks Lennon being back in Arizona. That's where he's from. Like he's back. I'm obviously back visiting family. Like sometimes you need that reset, and it's okay. In this case, give them that reset. Give especially the guys that are on national team duty as well. They're not having that quote unquote vacation that I talked about, that couple of days off. Give it to them when they get back from the international window. Let them go for a little bit. Let them go do what they want to do. Let them get out of the soccer world for a minute and come back refreshed. And that would be my only caveat. Hey, don't work on your vacation, but come back ready. Come back with a totally refreshed mindset and be ready to get the season back on track.
Yeah, and obviously because of Club World Cup and swapping in and out of grass surfaces and turf and things like that. All right, there you go. All right, good start. And there you go. That's the proper plug.
I'm doing my best.
Yes, you're looking at points that you've got to steal on the road. I mean, you put yourself in this situation. And it literally is, okay, we've got to go into places and we've got to get points on the road. We've got to do it, in NYC, with Matt Freese in that he has come through this season. I'm sure that folks in some circles that think, oh, yeah, this is kind of what we expected out of Matt Freeze, and it's finally coming to the fore. But then the two at the end of June, those to me will be indicators of where the team is coming back from break, where they are mentally when it comes to philosophy, and now what Ronnie Dyla wants them to be. Because, nothing like Columbus, who got thumped by an angry Messi. And then you've got Messi and friends after that, those 2 and 4 days. I think that those will be indicators of where you've come from and what you should anticipate in July going forward for the rest of the year.
I agree. And I think it's interesting too, because you're kind of alluding, to Miami and kind of what they're looking like over the month of June. I mean, their next MLS match is that Atlanta match. They're playing Al Ahly on June 14th, and then Porto up here in Atlanta.
Yeah. But then if they get out of group stage, then they might have to juggle stuff out of and figure out, spacing and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to knockouts. So, I mean, that might get kicked down the road depending on their level of success in group.
Yeah. And I think out of all the groups that MLS teams are in that have a chance of making it out, Inter Miami is the one. And it's not necessarily because Inter Miami is such a good team. They are, but their group is relatively, and I'm heavy on the quotes here, relatively weak compared to like what Seattle has to deal with. So yeah, they could make it out. And whether it's by the skin of their teeth or not, then yeah, you're looking at a totally different conversation coming at the end of June.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, when it comes to the groups, Palmeiras, Porto, Al Ahly, and Messi and friends. That's Group A. And so, you've got the match at Mercedes-Benz, and I think you could get past Al Ahly. Palmeiras for me is a question mark. Porto is a perpetual pain in the ass. Say that fast. So, I mean, there is an opportunity for, if things swing, that they can get out of group, and then you got to rejugglify your schedule and everything. And so, to your point, looking at everybody else, Seattle is in Group B. PSG, Atletico Madrid,
R.I.P.
Botafogo, and Seattle.
That's rough. Yeah, Seattle's just like, hey, appreciate it, guys.
Well, and then you ended up. We played the sound from the post match pseudo press conference with Christian Roldan and Stefan Fry.
Yeah,
and the T-shirts and all of that. And so, it's like, hey, you're wearing T-shirts, and I know that I'm flipping cause and effect here. But it was, hey, yeah, we're going to discuss that we only got $9.55 million in the distribution we have an issue with. But by the way, we're in Group B.
Yeah. All we might get is that little $1 million or whatever per, to divvy out to everybody.
Yeah.
So, can we please have more?
Yeah. So thanks.
Yeah.
Really, what is your vibe on the Club World Cup in general?
Just as a whole?
Yeah.
I wish it were promoted more mainstream overall, like in the US. And for the longest time, any version of the Club World Cup in some regions has kind of been just like an afterthought. Especially like in Europe, it's like you win Champions League and that's the big thing. And then the Club World Cup is kind of like, playing the bonus level after you beat the game. And but then other regions, like, it's massive. And I think considering this is essentially the appetizer for the actual World Cup,
a
lot of the same stadiums and all, I wish I would have seen a lot more, TV things. And we've seen some billboard stuff, which is cool. In Atlanta, there's some billboards about it. But I think in some cases, like, there's some events that go on that you just can't get away from. It feels like, there's advertisements everywhere, whether it's on TV or streaming or, music like Spotify, things like that, and websites, the whole 9 yards. And you have a core group of like FIFA folks that have, tried, like, y'all have done some stuff. We've done some stuff like local media here and there, done stuff. Like they're reaching out, trying to push it that way, which is great. But considering the amount of money that is up for grabs in this tournament, I wish that they had really pushed the promotion to another level, because I feel like in many markets there are opportunities here to pull in the casual fan, the people that don't really know as much about it,
Yeah.
and get them involved. Whereas right now it just kind of feels like it's more of, hey, you're a Man City fan. Man City's coming to Atlanta. That's awesome. We're going to go see them. But besides that, it's like, what are we doing to draw in, kind of maybe like new fans? And some of the teams, I will say, are doing that. Like maybe Man City was a terrible example there, because they're actually, we have an article coming out later that's really, really cool about some stuff that they're doing. But like, the overall point is you just don't see as much, I think, outreach from from FIFA and a lot of the teams. I think there's an excitement around it. It's not to take that away. I just think it's maybe not as you haven't milked that cow as much as you probably want.
Okay, so who are you the most excited out of the folks that might be crossing over here into our footprint, whether they're practicing, playing, or whatever? Who are you the most excited to see, even if those lineups might not be the A or the A plus lineups? They might be B plusers. You might see a B minus in there somewhere, depending on group stage. Who are you the most excited about?
I mean, it's hard to not say Man City because of just the success that they've had overall, because even if it is, they're not B team, not C team, it could be their J team for all we care. At the end of the day, you're going to have Pep Guardiola on the touchline.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have, that core group of people who have been successful there over a very long period of time now. So that's going to be cool. I'm also excited about Porto as well. I think Porto is just one of those teams that maybe they fly under the radar a little bit, but they get things done. They're kind of a neat team to watch.
They're a pain in the ass if you.
Yeah, like you said, they are definitely a pain. But they have a culture that I think is a little bit different than a lot of the teams going into the Club World Cup, and I think that's neat. So those two kind of stand out, for all the good reasons. I'm intrigued by some of the other ones that maybe you don't get to see as much, like ATLUTD is interesting to me. But I think just from like sheer star power, even if it's not, the main guys playing or participating, Man City's a big one.
Yeah, and so for me, I liked just the novelty of this, and seeing a PSG with Luis Enrique, and how much of a bad man Luis Enrique is. Seeing somebody like Diego Simeone and Atletico Madrid. You've got Bayern Munich. You get to see Harry Kane.
As a Bayern fan, I'm excited about them.
But, yes, I mean, yeah, and you're in the group with Auckland City, Boca Juniors, and Benfica.
Yeah.
So, gee, thanks on that one. If you're a Bayern fan, then the novelty of somebody like Esperance de Tunisie. It's not every day that a club from Tunisia gets to wander over and be a part of things in your country. River Plate, Monterrey, Inter, who apparently, I don't know if you know this. Did you see about this with Inter apparently?
With the new coach?
With the financial crises.
Oh, no, I did not.
This was put forth. Let me see if I can find where it. And this was this was something that popped up on Threads, and I've got to find the backing. But this was reported yesterday. Inter have been implicated, and this is from Kevin Leon, who does soccer reporting. He says, Inter have been implicated in the most significant financial scandal in Italian football since Calciopoli. A confidential report claims that between 16 and 19, nearly 300 million euro in revenue from fake Asian sponsors was allegedly funneled into Sidestep FFP. Despite other clubs facing punishment for lesser infractions, the Italian Football Federation reportedly shielded Inter from sanctions, even as the club maintained alleged ties to mafia-linked ultras. So we have to keep an eye on. I have to keep an eye on that with Inter.
I didn't know where any of that was going at any point when you were reading. That is wild.
So
The fact that you ended with mafia-linked ultras.
yeah, you're like, okay, but got to keep an eye on that with alleged Calciopoli-ish ties with Inter. Dortmund, and like I said, for me, give me the ones that are off the beaten track. Give me Auckland City.
Mama Lodi Sundowns.
Yes, you can catch them. You can catch them on BN right now because they're in AFCON, and so if you need to find the BNs, you can go to our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. It helps you out. It helps them out. And it helps you continue to be a true degenerate when it comes to adding leagues and parts of the world to watch the games from. But yeah, Mama Lodi Sundowns for me. Ulsan HD. Ulsan, I think, is in Charlotte, by the way, for their training camp. Vidad Al Ain, Juve, Real Madrid, Al Hilal, Pachuca, and Salzburg. I mean, it is, whatever the math system is that they figured out about how to, get all of these folks here under one roof. And then you have Gianni Infantino wandering out onto the pitch at the erector set, sitting there going, and Team 32 is the wild card, and it is Messi and friends, and we're going to have our first match at here in Miami, and everybody in Miami is like, what? The mayor and everybody, the city council at Miami-Dade, they're like, what? And then it's like, it's going to be over at Hard Rock, and it's going to be the first one. What? It just
really?
Okay, it is. All right. Okay, fine. All right. Thanks for letting us know. As he wanders right back out into the middle of the pitch with a hot mic, for the crowd and everything. I mean, it's I dig the novelty of this, knowing that it is going to be something that will be that warm up act for when the world comes to this hemisphere in a year. We played the sound part of the interview that Jason did with the AD from Mercer before you came on, and I will be intrigued about how all of these cities and these institutions and these training camp locations will learn the lessons from the Club World Cup and apply them forward to next year when the world shows up here. I'm interested in the lessons that you learn from handling international clubs, and then when national teams come in, it'll obviously be for longer and longer times, but I'm interested in the infrastructure and the lessons that are going to be learned just as much as the teams when they come here to the U.S.
Yeah, me too, because you have to think anything that you're going to get done before the World Cup next year, it already has to be in motion now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just an opportunity for you to test the waters, and you can pivot at the last minute, but you better hope that there's no city during this that finds out, our infrastructure just ain't going to cut it. Because if so, you really don't have much recourse at this point.
Yes, and to David Nabby's point, David says this will also be a test run for how many foreign fans suddenly realize how tough it is to get from Miami to Chicago or LA to watch the team play. Because, this ain't going to be cheap.
No.
Because you look at all right, so just to give folks an idea. So on the 14th, that's when the first match happens with Messi and friends in Al Ahly. Okay, fine. So then on the 15th, it's Bayern Munich, Auckland City, PSG, Atletico Madrid, Palmeiras and Porto at the Meadowlands, and Botafogo and Seattle at Lumen. So at least Seattle gets a home game out of the deal. But then you try it's like you try and track down, okay, what's my path? So let me try and find a repetitive club and figure out, okay, where are they traveling from and where are they traveling to? So where do we have? I'm scanning the grid, trying to figure out, okay, where can we have? Okay, so Messi and friends, just as an example, just for the sake of comparison, they have their match at Hard Rock. Then they fly up here for their match number 2, and it is 5 days. So you got plenty of time to get that squared away. Seattle, by the way, has 2 home games to start. They have 2 home matches to start in Group B. Then,
silver lining.
Yes, that's we can practice in our own joint. And then for the third match, if you're following Messi and friends, you get to go from basically Hard Rock to Atlanta, back to Hard Rock. So if you're a domestic fan, it ain't that bad. If you're flying into this particular part of the world, then it might be a little different.
Yeah, because if you're driving, that's a 10-hour drive. There's not many other alternatives unless you take the train to Orlando and then fly out of there, and it's a much shorter flight. It doesn't matter though. I mean, there's no easy way to make it happen.
No, and say you're a Manchester City fan, you're going from the link on the 18th to here, second match, and that is 4 days later. And then from there, you're going Philly, Atlanta, and scanning. Then you're Orlando. So it's not bad. But the Philly to Atlanta, Orlando. Orlando is the easy part where you get to rent a car. But Philly, Atlanta, Orlando, if you're Manchester City. And that's just the group stage.
Yeah.
That's the group stage in this thing. And so you're like, yikes, man.
I mean, you might get lucky if you're in New England. You know, like if there's a handful of matches that are just kind of conglomerated around New England, then maybe, you can get around with some rail action, some short flights, cheap flights, maybe.
Yes.
But anything beyond like Philly to Atlanta, all right, one time, maybe. Like look, I'm here to see my team.
Yeah.
I can take in the sights. If you plan it out properly, that could be a really cool trip one time. Not doing it again.
Yeah.
That's way too much, driving. You're going to have, and then that's not even including, you kind of use the domestic example. Of course, there's a lot of people, coming in for Miami for Messi. But just like, let's say you're a Red Diamonds fan. That River Plate match is going to be fun, by the way.
Yeah.
But you're flying in from Japan. That's easily, a couple $1,000 to wherever. And then you got to travel around if you're trying to catch all the games. And then you got to get back to Japan. Like that is a massive chunk of change.
Yes. It's like, so what do you want for your birthday? Club World Cup. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Christmas too. Abby also mentions that FIFA disorganized for the volunteers, didn't do their homework or research, tickets outrageously priced, and no, they have not been good about promoting. All right, so now that Abby's brought that up, let's go to Ticketmaster real quick. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go to Ticketmaster and go to FIFA Club World Cup ticket / artist, which is what it is.
Okay.
They're listed as an artist. Okay, so let's say, shall we, that you want to try and go see Al-Akhli and Messi and friends at Hard Rock. Yes, I agree, even though I'm not going. Get-in price right now, and maybe that thing that that FIFA was promoting about going to see 20 different matches or whatever, get you into the World Cup, might not be a bad idea right now. Get-in price at the Hard Rock, $55.75 for that matchup to kick off the Club World Cup. And that's get-in.
What the heck, dude?
That's get-in.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're like end zone seats or whatever, it's like 88, 129 plus fees to get rink side, 175 if you're right next to the club level. That's literally at the Hard Rock to get in to see Messi and friends. Bayern Munich and Auckland City at TQL, by the way. They're the second match of the tournament. 90-30 get-in price at TQL to go see Bayern Munich and Auckland City. And that's in the corners of the end zones.
That's insane.
Upper tank 200 level for TQL through Ticketmaster right now, $244.50.
What the heck?
Yeah. I am not purchasing that kind of a ticket.
No.
I am not. I'm not spending that kind of money with all of those kinds of things. All right. So what else do folks need to know when it comes to SNS and everything going on these days now that we have started analyzing the day-to-day expenses of everything Club World Cup if you want to come and visit?
I am excited about. I really am. I know we talked a lot of maybe negativity. Let's just being honest. I'm excited about the tournament. I really am because there's just so many cool matchups.
Yep.
We'll have some stuff over on the website over on scarvesandspikes.com coming out. To Abby's point, getting credentials to even try to cover this tournament was also a nightmare. We'll throw that out there as well.
You want to talk about jumping through hoops, man?
Dude, it was insane. And I thought, Copa America last year with CONMEBOL was a struggle too, but it just seems like this is way more difficult than it ever should be. Anyway, that's a totally different topic. But no, so tonight we'll have our show at 7. It's just gonna be the 4 of us hanging out, chatting, because of the week off. And then next week, though, I got to go ahead and give a promo for next week.
Yes.
Would love for everybody to come hang out with us then too. We are doing a episode that is going to be sponsored by Atlanta Burns, which is a local hot sauce company.
I was going to say, be careful about what they are. So
yeah. So anyway, they've got some really cool, hot sauces that are made here. The guy, he's local. He started it a couple of years ago and just kind of blown up. So we're gonna do kind of like a Hot Ones-esque type thing.
No.
Just chatting Atlanta and MLS, probably the Club World Cup and everything else.
And you're gonna start with the easy questions and the mild sauces and work your way up.
Progressively hot takes. Now, and I will say, he did say like none of his hot sauces are like,
3 Mile Island
douchebag hot. Yeah, like they're made for flavor, but they do have like if he said, all right, 1 to 10, 10 being like, why are we even doing this? His is like a 4 to 6, most of them.
Okay.
So lots of good flavor, intriguing flavors. Like he's got ones like a blueberry based hot, or not based, but blueberry hot sauce. So super cool. So he worked with us to do a promo code for 10% off, and then they do free shipping.
There you go.
So code is United, by the way.
Yes. And so for folks that want to pick up their SNS gear that includes ceramics to drink to recover from the Atlanta burns, how did they do that?
Go to scarvesandspikes.com and click on the little shop button up at the top, and that will take you there and get you a coffee mug, or sometimes they say getting other parts of your body hot is the way to deal with spiciness. And so maybe you go get a hoodie and then go out in this, almost 90-degree weather that we've been having. I don't know, but it's all on there. So
blueberry hot sauce. I'm intrigued. And I am intrigued by that.
It is. Well, you'll see I haven't had it yet. So we're going to try all these, like, on the show, on the live show that night. But I am a sucker for kind of like off the wall, different kind of, stuff like coffees and hot sauces and stuff like that. So, and all of his stuff has like a Georgia theme to it, which I thought was cool.
Okay. All right. So now that we have been intrigued by that, please go enjoy the rest of your mug and your coffee and your hot sauce, and we'll be rocking and rolling with SNS. As always, there you go. We'll see you soon, my friend. Thanks as always.
See ya.
All right. Hot tag. There goes Tyler. And so this is where we bring in Dylan. And Dylan, blueberry hot sauce, yay or nay?
I don't usually nay until I taste it, but the description leads me to a nay. Okay. Like I'm on the road. I'm on the road to nay.
Okay, I understood. I mean, I am readily an individual that I am not into hot food. I'm not into hot sauces. I'm not into hot food. I mean, full disclosure, last night for dinner, the boss made dinner in the kitchen. We actually ate in the kitchen, and we had chicken breasts and salads and things. And there is a high school football coach friend of mine who he has been experimenting on rubs and hot sauces because he's a big griller, and he fishes and hunts and those kinds of things. And so what he likes to do is he likes to go down the grilling path and try to come up with a rub. It literally took him 14 years to perfect the rub that he got. And it is insane, and it is so hot for me that I barely can stand it, but it works very, very well. That is one of the rare hot things that I will have in my kitchen. And there are plus ones that actually do make their own barbecue hot sauce too, that we have as additions. I am not a hot food person, so I didn't know how random off the wall sauces would fit in your purview either.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking, you get some sweetness, right, from the blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
So almost like a hot honey type of feel to it, I guess, right? So.
Right. Yes. And so That's kind of where I was going with that this morning. And now since Tyler mentioned it, and I figured I would go ahead and bring it through with you and find out how you are with hot food. Speaking of which, how are you with things? Club World Cup, yay or nay?
I think for the first time, I'm yay, just because it's here.
Yeah.
It was always like this tournament of like 6 teams or 8 teams, and you knew 2 of them, and it was in the middle of the night somewhere in Tokyo, or like it wasn't like it didn't appeal. But I think the fact that it's here, that it's expanded, group stage to kind of model the World Cup. Let's see. I think it's interesting.
And we were going over like some of the teams to look at, and just the novelty factor of having like Auckland and Ulsan and River Plate and Boca Juniors and Botafogo and all of these folks outside of those of us that follow the game in Europe. I was like, oh, okay, we've got some Inter is a part of it, those kinds of things. So
right.
I think the novelty for me is part of the attraction to it all.
Yeah, and I think like the Benz has a few matches, right? I think that should be buzzing.
Yep. We have Messi and friends in Porto. We have Chelsea and LAFC is the first one on the 16th. Then we have Messi and friends in Porto on the 19th. And then we have in group stage, Man City and Al Ain is the late night match on the 22nd. And then we have 3 in the knockouts after that. So 6 total.
Yeah, no. So I think, I'm not, I think the novelty of it being an expanded tournament here.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, let's see. I'm interested.
Okay. All right. So All-Star voting is going on for yet another week. It closes a week from today. I wanted to get your storylines at the.
I did mine too. You know what? I should have coordinated with you because I
Yeah.
have like a screen grab.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Is there a way I could share that?
You should. There should be a way to sit there and just put it up on your thing. Or we can walk through the individual names because the top 5s I think are posted. We can just walk through it that way if you can't screen grab and post it. If you can just sit there and flip it on your this should be like a screen sharing function. I'm guessing. See, me telling you about technology. This is rich.
Oh, I see. Share screen.
Yes, there you go.
1 sec.
Yes. So
put the document up.
Yes, there you go. And so get the document up. And so we'll walk through your all-star ballot plus all of your other storylines that you have attached at the halfway point of Major League Soccer. So as you are attempting to share your screen, what are some of your big storylines so far here at the halfway point?
Holy hell. No, it's like asking me to record this computer screen and audio, and I'm
we'll just walk through it. We'll talk it through. How about that? No skin off of my nose. Me and technology, I try not to tempt fate.
All right, I'm just gonna hit cancel on this whole.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No, so we'll walk through it. Storylines here at the halfway point of the season for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it starts with Vancouver, right? Like obviously the surprise favorites for the Shield at this point. I think you probably could have named 4 different teams who would be favorites preseason that are in Vancouver.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know where. Maybe 10th or so. Maybe preseason you would have had Vancouver in the Shield race. But yet here they are, right? And they've showed consistency, which is rare in MLS. It's so rare to get a team consistently good over multiple competitions, despite injuries, despite travel, and they've done that.
So then,
of course, now the question mark is post Champions Cup, right? Like,
hey, what the hell happened last week against Cruz Azul?
Yeah, no. And there's got to be now. credit to Columbus last year, because I do remember I was on their next match, which was at NYCFC, the first one back from losing in the final, and they won that match. And I think they went on a bit of a run after that, and they showed, that they were a championship caliber team, and they managed that disappointment. And it's such I think it's probably more mental than physical, although the physical part comes in too, because again, of all of everything that we mentioned about it.
Yeah.
But the yeah, I mean, that's now the question for Vancouver, right? Like, what do they look like, post run to a final where they fell so flat?
Yes. And you wonder if the international break is a good thing for them, so they can just kind of catch their breath a little bit for the second half of the season.
Yeah, they've got Seattle coming up on what is that, Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then a little bit of a break after that for sure. But then I think it's at a perfect time, definitely.
Yeah. Then if we're talking about Vancouver, then when I mention LAG and just how crazy it has been to stare at them and go, "You've got to be kidding me with this."
Yeah, and them too. Like, you gave them a little bit of the leeway. Like, yeah, Cup was incredible. We get it. You've lost some guys. You have some injuries. It'll take a little bit of time, but not 16 games worth of of not a half season's worth of time, right? So,
I mean, it's you give up 36, you find Schleprockian ways to lose matches. I mean, it is just you sit there and it's like, okay, so how you losing this one? An OG off of Yamane's back when he's not looking, those kinds of things.
yeah, and then even there too, like some of their OGs were like spectacular, like like you couldn't, if you tried to have a better OG, like they've managed to find the best possible OGs, like the most aesthetically pleasing of the OGs.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. So I mean, you look at what you're seeing there. Minnesota, who has like I said with Eric Ramsey, ball's got cooties. We don't care, and you're third, and you're only 2 points out of first. San Diego, who I think a lot of folks were sitting there going, "Okay, you're an expansion team." I'm not.
Yeah, that's the other one, right? Like you asked me about like sort of surprises. That's the other. I think I think you include LAG, obviously a bad surprise, right? But like, I think Vancouver's a pleasant surprise, and San Diego is the other biggest one, in that there wasn't a lot of knowns before. Like, everyone knew Chucky, but like, who are these other guys, right? Who's this Dryer guy? We don't know. Like,
He started in Hunter in the 1980s. That's what he did.
And but in a it's weird to say it because they've been struggling this year, but in a St. Louis type of way, they established the way they wanted to play very early, right? And they stuck to that. They got the pieces to play that way, and they've been great. They've been great through this first half of the season. So that definitely, another team that's been a big surprise, in a good way, and in a sort of after dark, drunk, soccery way. So has San Jose, right?
Yeah.
They've been great.
Yes.
They lead the West in goals for. They're one of the most in goals against.
Why the hell not?
Go over on the juice boxes every time they play, I think.
Yes, absolutely true. Did St. Louis, did all caps fire Olaf Melberg too soon?
No.
So you thought it was that bad, even after 15 matches?
Yes.
Okay. And so, of course,
sometimes you have to take a mulligan, I think, with some of these.
Well, but then, all right. So we talked to the folks at Ball Watching in St. Louis last week, and we went down this rabbit hole. But then, how many mulligans does a guy like Lutz Pfannenstiel get?
100%. I'm with you on that.
Because you bring in Carnell, and rookie pitch your first time through the league, you see what happens. You find out systemically that you're good in a one-off, but in a best of 3, you get found out. Then you come back season 2 and you come off to the slow start. You wig and you let Carnell go, and then you go through the rest of that year with injuries and such, and you don't make the playoffs. And now here in year 3, you're bringing Olaf Melberg, and he only lasts 15 matches. How much of a leash does Pfannenstiel get now?
That's a great question. I think it will. I think it'll depend on what they look like going forward, and I guess he's, unless it's a very short leash, he's certainly going to be in the in the decision making process in a big way for the next coach, right?
Yeah, you would think.
So, but that's where I think the short leash comes in, right? So we're going to give you another chance, hire this next guy, but that's got to hit right away, I think.
And speaking of Carnell, all of a sudden he's in Philly, and it is the Bradley Carnell show taking over for Jim Curtin, and you're 4 points clear of everybody else at the halfway point in the East.
Another surprise. You thought Gazdag goes, selling, Curtin goes. It's going to be a team that's going to rely on largely on the academy filtering up good players, and we're gonna go on the cheap and see where that brings us. And Ty Baribo's been one of the best forwards to this point, right? A Golden Boot contender. Had a red hot start. He's a guy who has a lot of, like, he scores his goals in bunches. So like when he gets on a run, he could score like 8 goals in like a 5-game span, right? So the young guys have all played to high levels. They've got some of the best 11, I think, in a few different spots, right? Kai Wagner continues to be one of the best outside backs in the league. And they're playing, they've put all their cards in on energy drink soccer, and it's really benefited them well. So
now then you look at Messi and friends, and literally you don't know which one of them you're going to get. You're going to get angry Messi, where you just basically take Columbus out back and sit there and lock the door and have them stuck in the backyard in the rainstorm and then no way to get back in the house. Or they're the club that gives up 4 or 5 and it turns into absolute chaos. Where are you leaning with them? I don't know if it's going to be sustainable with this kind of a pace with the defense that we've seen, especially in a playoff series.
Yeah, so I think with Miami, one of the things they need to do
Stop scoring.
is to not be as Messi dependent as they've been.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not like, like when LeBron was at his best, right? It's like, give the ball to LeBron, clear out, and let him do his thing.
Yep.
This is a sport with a much bigger field and more than double the players as an NBA court, right? So you can't just give the ball to Messi and then let him be magical, even though he can do that, right? Like you've got to not always force feed him the ball, I think, which is something that they've been doing a lot of, right? So I think that's one, and you did mention another important variable for them. So
don't let people score as much. Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com, dropping by as he always does on Wednesdays. Okay, your top vote getters. No screen saving needed.
Yeah, sorry about that.
7 different categories, and this is for first and foremost. Stop playing league all-star teams from outside of your own league. Play yourself. Make the whole look. I just that bugs me more than anything else. It's like, look, make it your league, showcase your players, have it be, we fixed the All-Star game back-to-back years and turned it into Royal Rumble and made it fun, and you're not sitting there and raging about what the format and what's going on. Top vote getters, we have the top fives with a week to go left before July 23rd at Q2 in front of a too small a crowd. And I do want to talk to you about Chicago and that news that came out yesterday before you get out of here. We have our top fives in the categories for top vote getters. And there are 7 different categories. We'll start at the back and work our way forward. Keeper, top 5. Gillespie, St. Clair, Takaoka, Martin Paz, and Carlos Coronel. What say you, Dylan Butler?
None of those are the guy I picked.
Who'd you pick?
Matt Freese.
Ah, okay. Understood. Okay. And why, sir?
I think he's been NYCFC's best player. Which also probably speaks to why they're
Yeah.
middling in the middle of the
Yes.
of the Eastern Conference. You don't want your goalie to be your best player, but he has been. He's been excellent.
So left back, Jordi Alba, Kai Wagner, Max Arfston, Ryan Hollingshead, Daniel Lovitz.
Yeah, I've got Max Arfston there.
Okay, understood. Center backs, Tristan Blackman from Vancouver, Michael Boxall from Minnesota, Jacob Glesnes, Miles Robinson, and Ranko Veselinovic.
I've got Blackman and Glesnes.
Okay. Right back. And this one to me seemed like a bit of a slam dunk, although it did kind of as a lane 8 pick from the beginning of the year. Alex Freeman, Andy Nahar, Mo Farsi, Griffin Dorsey, Alex Roldan.
Yeah, Freeman. 100%.
Yep. I had Freeman for me, and I was like, okay. I wonder how he is, on a vert route. I wonder how he defends that way.
And by the way, just as a disclaimer,
yes,
for mine, Messi didn't need my vote.
Yeah.
Some of these guys needed my vote. So
Yes.
let's just let Messi's not part of my 11.
Yeah. Hey, look.
With the understanding he will be part of the 11.
Oh, yeah. He'll be like the special wild card, kind of like when Gianni Infantino announced Team 32 in the Club World Cup. The world was shocked. Attacking mids, Evander, Diego Luna, Christian Espinosa, Lucho Acosta, Pep Biel.
So the first 2 you mentioned, those are my 2, Evander and Luna.
Okay. Why over the others?
I think Evander is in a MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only going to get better, I think, on that team. And Diego Luna is the best version of Diego Luna that we've seen. I think he's taken that next step to elite. So he's been awesome.
Now, if only
on a team that you would call bad right now for RSL.
I was going to say, 4-10-3 at the halfway point. They've scored 16 goals this year, and Diego Luna, I imagine, has had goal actions attached to most, if not all of them. 16 goals, 25 allowed in 17 matches. So that is a goal difference of 17 and 25 is 1.8 over 17. It's like 1.55 somewhere in there. But they're not even scoring a goal a match. And Diego Luna is when RSL is on and Diego Luna gets to show you the Diego Luna that we know is there. It's a fun watch. But for the most of the time this season, RSL has not been a fun watch at all. Forwards. You mentioned the guy that doesn't need really anybody's vote. Barabo, Brian White, Denny Bouanga, Anders Dreyer. Where else did you go?
I've got White.
Okay, understood.
I've got Baribo.
Okay.
And I've got Bouanga.
Okay. And I mean, Dreyer for me got off to a hot start in San Diego, but he's kind of come back to the rest of the pack a little bit. In as much as San Diego has continued to be successful, Dreyer has not helped me out in fantasy as much as he did at the beginning of the season that he has recently. So I understand.
I think those front 3, I think the front 5, if you will, like those 3 positions, the 2 attacking, those are the hardest picks. I don't think you mentioned D mid, by the way.
Because that's coming up next, actually.
Oh, my bad.
Sebastian Berhalter, Sergi Busquets, Jeppe Tverskov, Darlington Nagbe, and Artur. Those are the top 5 right now.
Yeah, I went Berhalter there.
Okay, and obviously, with what he has been able to do, he has taken national team spots away from other folks, and understandably so, with the hot year that he has been having. So that is the top vote getters and how Dylan has coordinated his ballot as we go with a week to go left in the voting. It's according to the league, it's not too late to submit your picks, and then they give you a link on the 280 character app to do so. Before you leave us this week, the new stadium deal that was announced in Chicago, we led with that yesterday on a bunch of different fronts. Joe Mansueto continues to invest in Chicago Fire. They've had to rearrange some dates away from Soldier Field and having to play, I think, 3 matches now in the remainder of their schedule at Bridgeview because of you're not allowed to have matches within a certain window in and around a Bears game. So Joe Mansueto now sees this plot of land and now wants to invest, I think, in the neighborhood of $650 million to build a new stadium that I think is too small. He's looking at it being at 22,000. I think it needs to be closer to 30. It would put him middle of the pack when it comes to capacity in Major League Soccer. I love the idea. I don't like the size.
You said that about the stadium at Dylan Butler Estates as well.
Yes, you need to be 30. I think you do. If you want to, in this day and age, when it comes to Major League Soccer and the growth of it, I think it needs to be 30,000. I think Dylan Butler Estates, I think that your construction crew is selling yourself too short. And I think that the same right now is going on in Chicago. I honestly do. I think you've got to be 30.
I don't know. I could see it both ways. I think 30 helps for a derby match, right? No doubt any of those international friendlies that will come in.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like Portland on a Wednesday night, you'll see more empty seats than I think the ones that are filled. So I could see it both ways.
Okay, so here's my empirical evidence.
And I don't think they come with. I'm sure there's meetings and boardrooms and charts and all kinds of XG-esque type things that they get to that number. I don't think it's just a dollars and cents thing. I think.
Oh, I'm sure that it has to do with surface area and square footage and lining up everything and all this kind of stuff. So PayPal Park is at 18. Subaru is at 18.5. Allianz is 19.6. Audi is 20. Lower.com is 20,011. I don't know what the 11. I don't know who came up with that one. Sandy, Utah. Rio Tinto is 20,213. Frisco right now is at 20,500 before the renovation. Q2 is 20,738. Stad Saputo is 20,801. Children's Mercy is 21. The Erector Set is 21,550 before they move into Freedom Park. BMO is 22. Helena Shell is 22,039. Energizer's 22,500. And Harrison, New Jersey is 25,000.
I like the 25. I think that's a good number for me.
I can stipulate to 25. I just think that when they built in St. Louis, I thought it was too small. But looking at the crowd last night for the probably hyper-priced women's friendly, the upper deck was empty, and I mean it was MP empty. Literally those 2 letters, capital letters. It was an empty joint last night. And Helena Shell, we talked to Glenn Davis before, and you got to attract folks to your product. So I'm kind of leaving Houston out to the edges. BMO, I think that you've created supply and demand. I think that with 22,000, you're creating a ticket to get to because of what you've created on the field.
BMO,
LAFC.
I hate it. So I was such a big fan of, and I get it, they needed to do it, but I was such a big fan of pre-BMO field renovation.
Yeah,
because you could see the CNN Tower from the press box side.
Yes,
It was awesome.
Yes.
But then they put the second stands in and you couldn't see it.
Yeah, and so now BMO Field is listed at 30,991 in Toronto. That's expandable to 40, and I think that's where they're going with that go round. But LAFC's right now is at 22 or 21. Yeah, 22. Children's Mercy Park, it depends. I think that with the crowd that you have in Kansas City, I think that they'll fill it when they're good. So 21 for me, I get it, but I think that in this day and age, I think that you've got to be bigger because of wanting to bring folks in to see your product, wanting to continue to grow the game, have the space for friendlies and internationals and competitions and all those kinds of things. And so that's why I maintain that Dillon Butler Estates is too small, and I maintain that right now in its current form, the new Joe Mansueto Estates is too small in its current form. So, like I said, that's just me venting my spleen. I want the game to grow, and I want it to be in venues where you're not creating supply and demand issues all the time, or thinking that you've got to have the live, work, play environment right up against the freeway and moving train tracks and all this kind of stuff. So,
yeah, that's that's the forever balance, right? Like the supply and demand versus, wow, there's a lot of empty seats here tonight.
yes.
Like, did we build this too big?
Kind of like Energizer Park in St. Louis after last night. Do you get a high school weekend off to do more lacrosse and things, or are you on the desk this weekend for the half schedule?
Yeah, so my lacrosse broadcasting is I have like a late June showcase, but done.
Okay.
Good to go. We did 9 games last week. So
massive ending of the Dillon Butler lacrosse season.
3 different classifications, semifinals, finals. Thankfully, all were at Hofstra, which is a terrific. It's become a terrific, one of the best lacrosse specific facilities in the country. So, great press box, the whole thing that comes with it. So, that ended on Saturday. So I had 3 lacrosse games Saturday. First game was like 10 in the morning. That one goes to overtime. Then after that, I come home and do my Saturday MLS shift, which included, of course, the LAFC Club America game. So Sunday I was mostly shot. Wasn't on Sunday. So no broadcasts, no Saturday night shift this week.
Yay!
So I will be on Sunday though.
Okay, so you got the Sunday shift. As always, my friend, great to see you. Great to catch up with you. Obviously, we get out of the international window. We'll start talking about stuff coming up next week, and especially Atlanta United heading to the sand pit, the sandbox, the U12 pitch, playing next Thursday as Atlanta United takes on the Matt Freese led NYCFC. As always, my friend, great to see you. Reach out anytime. You know that since you've got the keys to the front door and the garage door opener, you know you can crash it anytime. It's always great to see you, my friend.
All right. Hey, cheers, buddy.
Oh, wait, there's the mug. Yes, Yankees. Yes, the Yankees. Yankees mug. There he goes. Yes, there it is. The excellent plug for the New York Yankees. And Dylan, I don't know about that mug. I'm just waiting, like a Susan Waldman kind of a thing. What's that mug? What does that mug say? What's that mug say, Dylan? Something like that. All right. As always, great to catch up with Dylan on Wednesdays to kind of take the tour of Major League Soccer to get us kind of pushing toward the schedule that will be. Now it's time for alleged TV magic. And what I mean by that is time to bring in an interview that we did with Steve Livingstone. And Steve checks in with us very, very graciously every once in a while, and he lets us know what is going on at Sporting Jax. And for those of you that may not necessarily know, Sporting Jax right now, they are juggling multiple leagues as they're trying to launch in USL Championship and Super League and all this kind of stuff. So right now, they are juggling their USL League 2 schedule and their USLW schedule while they're signing USL Super League players and getting ready for life in Championship coming up in a very, very short period of time. And so it's been really cool to see how the academy's growing, how their pre-professional stuff is going, how they're getting ready for Super League and Championship, and find out from Steve where things stand when it comes to the day-to-day operations, all the growing pains and everything. And so if I can figure out how to do it and pull it from a particular section of our archive, here's our interview that we did with Steve Livingstone, club president and CEO of Sporting Jax, to find out about everything that's going on there in Jacksonville. So here is our conversation. And by the way, you may notice a moment, a couple of minutes to go in the interview where something happens. I'll tell you about that coming up on the other side. Time to catch up with our friends at Sporting Jax. And you want to know why we're catching up with our friends at Sporting Jax? Well, it's because, well, frankly, I mean, right, you look off my right shoulder and you see that the evidence is always here. So it's always close to the headset. And we have to find out what's going on with our buddy Steve Livingstone. So, all right, my first question for you, sir, is right now you've got two teams that are on the field in the W League and in USL League 2. So you're kind of getting your feet wet into this whole thing. With League 2 right now, as we're talking, first 4 matches, you're in a street fight in the Southeast, which you kind of anticipated you would be. And then in the W League right now, you're running roughshod, winning your first 4, and you've only given up 2 in your first 18, with 18 that you've scored in your first 4. When you look at the W League and USL League 2 so far, what do you think?
I think we've been unlucky with the 2 losses that we had in League 2, to be honest with you. We had a couple of close calls there. We went out in a penalty on a debatable decision. On the women's side, they're crushing it. There's no doubt they're crushing it. And they're crushing it without 2 of our leading W League players that we thought would be in the squad this year. But they've just been pulled in for international duty in Ashton Puerta and Georgia Brown. So arguably the best 2 players on the squad out, yet those girls that are on the squad have stepped up and filled it out and are doing an amazing job. We're getting ready for a game tonight. Uncharacteristically, Thunder has rolled in here to Florida, so there may be a delay in that one. But no, I think in terms of the W League and League 2 teams, we'd like to take credit for it, but we really can't. It's been what was there before with Florida Elite, Sean Bubb and his team, Michael and Levo, the 2 coaches of those 2 teams, have done an amazing job, and they've done it over a number of years. We've been fortunate to kind of move the brand into those 2 teams at just a good time, and being really grateful to kind of ride the wave of the development that they've put in. We are hopeful that a number of those players that are playing W League and League 2 will be Super League and Championship League players of the future. We are at the moment implementing a program that will link our pro teams into our youth development squads through into League 2 and W League as well. We just announced the acquisition, the signing, if you like, of Steve Fell, the US national team head of performance. Luckily for us, Steve lives here in the Jacksonville area in St. Augustine and only spends about 30% of his year on his international duty. So we get him for the other 70%. And he's an exceptional fellow. What he's going to bring not only to our pro teams, but also extend that into the youth programs, the youth setup, the youth organization and the structure that we're building through Mark Warburton, through Sean Bubb, I think is going to be exceptional.
How do you keep all of this straight, considering that you have a runway for leagues coming up in the future? You've got 2 going on right now. You've got Super League coming up. How do you keep all of this straight with all the personnel and all of the players and all the contracts and all the negotiations? Do you have a big flow chart that I don't see there in the office? How are you doing?
Right here, right over here. I'm not going to show you it, but there's a considerable whiteboard up there that is broken into maybe, 16 sections, and I call it the plate spinning board, because each of those sections kind of represents a particular plate that we're spinning, whether it be investment for the team, ticketing, soccer ops, partnerships, preparations at UNF. Whatever it is, it's up there on the board. I think, I am fortunate, extremely fortunate and blessed to have an amazing amazing front office team. We're now up to about 22 in our front office, which is great. Our ticket sales team have been killing it, knocking it out of the park. Our partnerships team have been out doing an equally good job. We've got something in the region of about 30 different potential sponsors that we're about to close on. We've just excellence across the board. Our operations people, our soccer people, we're just truly fortunate. So, yeah, I couldn't handle all of this without them. So those are the guys that do it.
How long did it take you in your career to understand the importance of delegating and not it being like hovering over shoulders and things like that, knowing that you have all of these chainsaws, specifically in this case, that you're having to juggle? How long did it take you to just sit there and trust the folks that you bring in to do their job and understand that their focus is on the path that you all want?
It took me a while. I mean, I'll be honest with you, probably, in a 30-year career, it probably took me 20 to figure that one out. Being a younger guy, you always think you can do everything and anything and can handle anything. I think it takes time, experience to develop that wisdom and realize that you're only as strong as the rest of your team. And, I put a lot of credit to them. I'm really just the conductor of the orchestra here, just making sure that everything's in place and everything's working and the plates continue to spin. But those are the guys that are doing the job. I think hiring and selection is really important as well, making sure that you get the right people. And then, the idea is to let them get on with it and get out of their way and support them where you can. And I think a lot of CEOs and management executives will tell you that that's fairly straightforward, but it took me a wee while to figure that one out, and we're here now, though.
So when you have questions, I mean, obviously, since you're at the top of the top of the pyramid, do you have folks that you reach out to outside the organization that you have as peers or role models that it's like, hey, I've got a question, can you, then they're going to pick up the phone?
Yeah, I like to think of myself more as the one neck to strangle, John. So rather than being at the top of the file. But yes, absolutely. I think, internally, we spend a lot of time collaborating and talking. I think that's important. I think ultimately it's my job to drive things forward and make decisions and help. But, when I get into areas where I need help, the great thing is we've got an incredible ownership group that I can turn to. We've got investors kind of across the spectrum. Some of our investors are leaders in their industry that have done extremely well, whether it be in event management or marketing, sports marketing, for example. And I really turn to those guys a lot to chat with them. I think also, our ownership team led by Ricky Kaplan. He's a younger guy than me, but Ricky is a visionary and is always thinking about things, always looking at ways that we can approach things and do things and challenging the status quo, to be honest with you. I'm a big believer in best practice, but even at times that can be challenged. And, Ricky does a great job of that. I mean, he definitely is a visionary and thinks big. He likes to say we're all answerable to a big God, and, that's why he likes to think big. So, really, without Ricky's thinking, without that group of support, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
When you have something that you're building from the ground up, like you've been doing there at Sporting Jax, and you want to be visionary in your approach, but you understand that you're in a league framework and you want to break down barriers and you want to do all these new things, but understand that you're doing it within the framework of a sport and a professional sport and a league. How difficult is it to juggle trying to maintain a status quo and at the same time be a visionary in something that's new that is established? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I think, there's a basic foundational level that no matter what you do, you've got to take care of the fundamentals, the X's and O's. You can't sell tickets unless you've got a ticket sales team. You can't develop sponsorships unless you get really good people that can go out there and drive partnership sales for you. I think, generally speaking, we try and take care of all those fundamentals, all those foundational things to start with. And then I think, once we get comfortable there, we can start then looking at, are there better ways of doing things? Is there an easier way of doing things? For us, we're doing a number of things, as we start up, that some people would probably say, why are you kind of wasting time on that? You get enough on your plate. But I think it's important to continue to challenge that. And again, working within the league structure, we like to keep the league informed of what we're doing. We just don't go out and do stuff. We like to talk to them. We like to share that. We'd love to be, again, a case study for other teams around the league. And anything that we get right, we'd love to share that. Anything we get wrong, we love to share that too. And you don't always get it right. But, again, I think we're kind of proud in that respect that we try to do things the right way. We try to do them, in a considered fashion, where we're going to give ourselves a chance of being successful. But again, we're happy to share any of that with anybody that wants to know.
So what was it like for you and for the organization to have the big reveal where you got to show off the kit and the jersey in front of all of those fans, to finally have that step of this process out there into the open? It's like, hey, here's what we're going to look like, because that's part of it too.
That was awesome. I mean, it took probably about 3 months of planning for that one, but and there was a lot of different components to that, a lot of different people. Adidas, obviously, were our presenting partner on that one, and were a huge support. I think, our early discussions with Adidas were, hey guys, we'd like to do this. We'd like to do it big. We'd like to do it with the city as a backdrop, and they were incredibly supportive of that. So they got it really from an early point, and were supportive throughout. The city of Jacksonville were great. Our partners, our sponsors came in and supported that event. It really was truly a kind of, it's flippant to say it, but a team pursuit, and we all worked together to make that event so successful. And I think just the event itself, as we rolled it out, it was fun. It was just a lot of fun because we put a lot of work into it. Obviously, we were kind of biting our nails a little bit because of the weather patterns that were passing, downtown Jacksonville at 5 o'clock on a Thursday evening. But we got away with it. And the best thing about that whole event was when we introduced the League Two and W League team players. These are kids that range, between 16 and 22. And for some of them, this is the first time that they'd ever stepped on a stage or being showcased in a way. And it was wonderful. It was just great to introduce them to the community. And, as a result of that, I mean, we had a game a couple of weeks ago, our first home game. We had close to 3,000 people turn out for that game. So it's all about kind of making it, pertinent, making it real, introducing those players to the community, and encouraging the community to come out and support them.
Steve Livingstone hanging out with us for the Sporting Jax update. And how much Super League are you watching these days?
Well, we're getting down to the end of it, so not as much as I've been watching. But to be honest with you, John, I don't get an awful lot of time. I mean, I kind of delegate that again to our technical teams. To go out and look at that. They've got this wonderful program called Y Scout where they can dial up any player at any time and take a look at them. They've been spending some time traveling to some of the games, taking in, the atmosphere, doing some scouting. Technically, we can't kind of sign anybody until I think it's July the 1st or something like that from other teams. We have a free agent list that we're looking through. So, yeah, I leave that to them. They are the experts in that. But again, I think the announcements that we've made in the past couple of weeks are beginning to kind of indicate, the level that we're working at here. And there's been a lot of local involvement in that. With our first two, Ashland and Georgia, terrific players that were then called up for international duty. Our announcement today on Zara, who's a local girl as well, plays at UNF. and then Caroline and Park are the two more kind of experienced players. I think you'll see as we go through these announcements a nice mix of local, younger, more seasoned professionals, and then we'll get our international players to come as well. So I'm really excited about the work that's been done around that, and how that roster's been built. We'll see how it goes.
Yep, Zara Siasi out of Lake Worth, Caroline Murray from New Canaan, Connecticut, Parker Roberts from Leawood, Kansas, has the relationship with Alan Kirk up there with Sporting Jax associate head coach. When international players are dialed up, and this might be something that you might have a conversation with Mark Warburton about or just want to let him go, when you have international players either reach out or are interested, what's that like to sit there and know that they're interested in something new and conquering what you guys want to accomplish coming out of the blocks?
I think it's been terrific. Again, his international reputation, he's a name out there. It's certainly opened, additional doors for us that maybe we wouldn't have got. And I think you'll see that reflected in our international players when we make the announcements on them. We're just going through the visa process with a lot of them right now. But I think it's been a nice combination as well. Mark has really focused a lot on those international players, but we've then, been complemented by, the work that Stacey and Alan and Becky Burley, our consultant, have done as well in identifying US players and younger potential players. And then we've had a lot of input as well from our academy. Sean Bob and his team have done a great job of identifying some diamonds in the rough there as well that can come in and help us. So I feel really good about, that group that's put this together.
All right. So now that you've got lightning to dance around and it just kind of shocks everything going on where you've got to go to generator power, what are the next things to cross off on the list? Are you going to hire, I guess my next question, are you going to hire Tim Deegan as your official staff meteorologist?
We probably should. We do have a television partnership with First Coast News, yep. Tim's old station, yeah. And Lewis, his replacement. We'll probably recruit Lewis in to do our pre-match weather forecast. That we show on the video board in the stadium. So yeah, it would have been nice to have Tim there. We just missed him. He could have hung on for another 10 months, Tim. Do us a favor.
I mean, come on now. I mean, you get Chris Porter over there to hang out with you, and yeah. Chris is. I've known Chris forever, but it's really good to see how everything continues to grow and evolve. I just wanted to poke my head in the door and see what's going on, and have you survive stuff that never happens in North Florida in the middle of an afternoon, late spring and early summer. As always, my friend, great to see you. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you, John. All the best as always.
And that, once again, let me see if I can figure out how to remove. There we go. All right. So that's catching up with Sporting Jax and Steve Livingstone. What I was trying to allude to was late in the interview, we had to do an edit because lightning struck literally right outside the office building. And so you might have noticed in the context of the interview that I referenced a lightning strike. And so literally, I was in the middle of a question with Steve. Lightning strikes outside the building. If you look at Steve, you see his eyes get really wide and his audio cut out as he was trying to continue to answer the question about Mark Warburton. And so literally the generator went on in the building, power went, the lights went out, then the lights came back on, and we had to do a pickup from that point. So, yeah, something that never happens in North Florida in late spring, early summer, a lightning strike. I think that's the first time that I've ever had a lightning strike in the middle of an interview. So, as always, great to catch up with Steve and find out what's going on down there at Sporting Jax. I know that a couple of you were talking about things. No news on training facility right now, Ewan. They, I think, are trying to figure out how to integrate it, I think, with the heat facility and with their youth club facility and their academy, and then try to see if there's a way to integrate it with the University of North Florida. I think that's where they're heading right now, but obviously something that they can keep an eye on, and we'll keep an eye on. So forced me to remain vigilant in asking that question when it comes to the training facility. And I know that a lot of you also were talking about Europe. Adele was talking about European calendars and things like that when it comes to the U.S. soccer schedule as a part of all that. And remember that Major League Soccer did discuss that a while back as possibly something in the next couple of years to advance to. No real concrete update as to that as well. Okay, news and notes before we get out of here. In Atlanta United news and notes, the disciplinary committee fined Jamal Tiare for violating the league's policy regarding simulation and embellishment in Atlanta's match against Red Bulls. So let's see. When did this happen? Let's see if we can figure out when this, in fact, did happen. And because of the yellow card that was issued to Alexander Hack in the incident, he is absolved from his yellow card accumulation, and any disciplinary points toward Red Bulls and their total will be dismissed. So in the 61st minute, Jamal, it was that moment. So Alexander Hack, when he goes up with the high boot and made contact with Jamal. So Alexander Hack, okay, so from the moment, all right, so I'm slowing it down, and so all of this is inconclusive from the angles that we have. Jamal grabbed his head at the time. So there's one angle involving Alexander Hack, and it looks like it was where he comes in high, gets the yellow card, and they look at it upon review in the 61st minute. And so Jamal gets fined for embellishment. So Isla grabs him from behind, and Jamal kind of grabs his head as Hack takes a swing. One of the angles, it's the contact from Hack is coming toward the camera in the 61st minute. And so I guess in the evaluation, they thought that Hack did not make any contact, and therefore Jamal, when he grabbed his head, embellished. And so Jamal gets a fine from the disciplinary committee for, so Jamal gets 61st minute. It's available here. I'll give you the link so you can look at it yourselves and make the so you can look at what Disco was looking at. So it officially it's in the Twitch pitch, so you can go ahead and look at it. So Jamal got fined for embellishment. Atlanta United gets fined for embellishment a lot these days. Actually, it's not just these days, but Atlanta United, I'd love to know what the numbers are for embellishment fines by MLS toward Atlanta United players versus the rest of the league. I really would. I'd love to know what those empirical numbers are. I'm just saying. Other stuff that is going on after Jamal got fined. Giacomo Vrioni fined for failing to leave the field in a timely manner in this 36th minute of Montreal's match against the Revs. And those are the only two that happened this week, and it was released yesterday. So those are the two disciplinary notes from the league involving Major League Soccer players, and one of them involved Atlanta United. We played the first 2 minutes of the impromptu press conference involving the Sounders in the locker room and the wearing of the World Cup cash grab shirts. Jeremiah O'Shan at Sounder at Heart reports that they confirmed through sources that GM Adrian Hanauer, owner Adrian Hanauer went into the Sounders locker room and, quoting Nico Moreno, and we'll talk to him about it tomorrow, scolded the players in an explicit way for wearing the World Cup cash grab shirts. So we'll keep an eye on that story as it continues to evolve as well. News and notes and a couple of other things before we get out of here. I don't know if you saw this yesterday in the EFL Championship, but a troublesome owner once again becomes troublesome, and it has to do with Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday owner Dafon Chansiri has apologized with the club being hit with, quote, multiple breaches of the EFL's financial regulations. Chansiri had also been charged with allowing Sheffield Wednesday to be in breach of EFL regulations despite his commitment to fund the cash requirements of the side. Charges stem from Chansiri and Sheffield Wednesday not paying their players on time in March and May of this year, with the EFL giving the pair 14 days to respond to the charges. Club released a statement from Chansiri where he offered his sincere apologies, in quotation marks. In March, Wednesday claimed the delayed payment stemmed from Chansiri being owed money from his various businesses. At the time, quote, it's occurred as a result of significant sums of money owed to the chairman's businesses, which has in turn impacted on the club's immediate cash flow. Chairman was working hard to resolve the situation at the earliest possible opportunity. And in the meantime, thanks everyone for their patience and understanding. The issue of delayed payment struck again for the second time in 3 months in May. Chansiri has owned Wednesday for 10 years, and the Thai billionaires company Thai Union Group is the largest. No, I don't care about Choice Hotels. I really don't. Pop-up window. World's largest producer of canned tuna. However, Chansiri's tenure as owner has been dogged by fan protests, resignation embargoes, and registration embargoes during the last 3 years. Docked 6 points in the 2021 campaign for breaching spending rules. Club sold Hillsborough to their chairman for a reported £60 million in 2019 to avoid breaching spending rules. Asked fans to raise $2 million in October of 23 to pay an outstanding bet to His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. And despite those issues, Chansiri said he received no substantial interest in the club during his last update. Aside from multiple breaches of the EFL's financial regulations, the Owls may need to look for new management, given the rampant interest in Danny Roll. So Roll has a £5 million release clause in his contract, 2 years remaining on his deal, with the extension that was penned in last May, 34, 19, and 36, with Roll in his tenure there so far. So going back to the issue of the delayed payments, BBC Radio Sheffield claimed that payments were due but had been yet to arrive, and the repeat of what had happened back in March. April 7, Sheffield Wednesday can confirm a temporary issue with the payment of player salaries for the month of March. A temporary issue. Finished 12th in 24-25. You had fan protests at the end. Once again, you could risk a transfer embargo, and they've been under registration embargoes during the past 2 seasons. And we mentioned the docking of the 6 points that had happened a couple of years ago. So Sheffield in more trouble. Color me shocked. Also, what to do, where to go, and who to keep an eye on when it comes to all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Michael Carrick out at Middlesbrough, along with his staff, by the way. Let's see. Gossip. And then we'll let you know what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Once again, Saudi interest in Young Min Son. We talked about that yesterday. Manchester United's Jadon Sancho also could be heading to either Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, or Al Nasser. Martin Zubimendi at Real Sociedad has cast doubts over a move to Arsenal, saying he has options, in quotation marks, unsure about where he'll end up. Brian Mbumo hoping for wages of 5 times his current wage of $50,000 a week if he joins Manchester United. Inter Milan have made contact with Cesc Fabregas at Como about him taking over as their new manager following the departure of Simone Inzaghi. Crystal Palace, and this is from the 4-letter paper. Remember we talked about yesterday the UEFA meeting that the Crystal Palace ownership was set to have an Eagle Holdings, including John Textor, with UEFA trying not to penalize Crystal Palace because of the ownership of both Lyon and Palace under Eagle Football Holdings. John Textor trying to sell his majority share in the club as Eagles try to avoid being disqualified from Europa League for breaking the multi-club ownership rules. Once again, 4-letter paper. Aaron Ramsdale has held talks about a move to West Ham from Southampton, hoping to get £20 million for him following their relegation from the Premier League. Luka Modric has verbally agreed to join AC Milan when he leaves Real Madrid after the FIFA World Cup this summer, and that is from our friend Gianluca Di Marzio. So you've got all of that to keep an eye on today. Last night, it was a comfortable win for the United States in their friendly in St. Louis against Jamaica. So it looks like tomorrow on the show, we'll go over all of the other venues for clubs and the Club World Cup. It'll be also, once again, Nino and Nico coming in the Power Hour at 10 and 10:30. Once again, big win last night for Decatur FC in the WPSL. Shout out to our buddy Gabe Schrei, who was on with us yesterday, called the match. You can go back and watch the match on YouTube. Drew Dickinson and I are getting ready for the matchup on Friday involving Decatur FC. We'll have that one for you up on the National Soccer Network and on the WPSL website, so you can keep an eye on that as well. Decatur FC right now inside track to be the division. They're the division leaders right now, 3 wins on the season already, and they're on track because of tiebreakers to be the folks on top heading into the postseason. So keep an eye out for that big matchup for Decatur FC on Friday, and we'll have that one for you. So keep your ears peeled and listen to that. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And you can do all of that in a couple of different places. Kind of a light day. Fox Deportes has the U20 Maurice Ravello tournament coming up bottom of the hour, France and Saudi Arabia. Or was that yesterday? That was yesterday. So today it is a Nations League, 3 o'clock, Germany and Portugal in FS1. The Maurice Ravello tournament at 11:30 has the Mexico U20s taking on the Danish U20s. Birmingham and Indy and USL Championship. That is coming up on ESPN Plus at 8 o'clock. And on Fox Soccer Plus, the Canadian Premier League, which you can also watch on One Soccer. I've got the subscription to that streaming service too. At noon, it is a businessman special, student special, Valor and Vancouver at noon Eastern on Fox Soccer Plus before you get into TST, which starts tomorrow. And our friend Jessica Charman is going to be a part of the broadcast there as well, on the U and on the Plus and all over all of the family of networks that are attached to the 4-letter. So that's your day. Thanks, as always, for all of you hanging out. David, before we get out of here, says, did Jamal get hit? Yes. For the number of times people grab head on a shot off the back and shoulder, should be 50 fines a week then. Missed the other fine for not leaving the field timely the week before. But, yeah, it looked like Jamal got hit from one angle. But, yeah, I mean, it's an instinct to go and grab your head. But, yeah, Jamal instinctively grabbed his head. They viewed that as a simulation, and so Jamal gets an envelope from the league. But once again, thanks to Steve Livingstone from Sporting Jax. Thanks to Dylan Butler at MLSsoccer.com. Thanks to Tyler Pilgrim for coming by, as he always does. Their show tonight, once again, across the SNS network. You can catch them on YouTube Nightside. So tomorrow, once again, Nino and Nico will go through all the training expos and all the training places that folks are going to be gassed up and getting ready to go as we get ready for the Atlanta United 2 matchup that is going to be at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And so Abby had mentioned that we had not had the chance to discuss how things had shifted from Kennesaw to Athens. And so it appears for the next couple of matches that it's going to be up in Athens for Atlanta United and for the twos, specifically for the twos. So let me get to the release before we get out of here, and we can break all of that down for you. Let's see. Schedule, matches, buzzing through everything. And so it is going to be at the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens, 1 o'clock on MLSNextPro.com. And that is Atlanta United 2 hosting NYCFC 2. And once again, announcing that the June home matches were changed due to stadium availability. And so slated for Friday at 4, initially at the Fraction, it is now going to be Friday at 1 at the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens. June 11th match also is going to be played there with kickoff set for 5 o'clock. Both matches free to the public, no ticket required. There will be security measures in place that align with the venue's security policies. Fans who originally purchased tickets for both matches refunded within 48 to 72 hours. So that is what the change is for these next 2 matches. NYCFC 2, Huntsville City Football Club, due to stadium availability, now has been shifted to the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens, 1 o'clock on Friday, 5 o'clock on the 11th of June. Jason will be up in at Turner, the Turner Complex on Friday, 12:30 pregame. And then Maddie and I will be at the Turner Complex 4:30 pregame on June 11th for the matchup against Huntsville City Football Club. So that is the 2 changes, at least in the short term, once again, due to stadium availability. We'll keep you posted on that as it all goes forward. Once again, thanks to all of you folks for hanging out with us. Thanks to Tyler. Thanks to Dylan. Thanks to Steve. And thanks to you for being a part of everything. And we'll be back at it again in less than 22 hours. Because it is the end of the show, that means we get to do this. Back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern Time. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plats, y'all. We'll catch up with you.